Hello there, and welcome to this question and answer session with myself, Professor Richard Thelwell from University of Portsmouth. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes to allow people to join this particular session, and then I will run through some of the key things associated with the school in terms of the courses and other information that you may wish to know about, and then we'll open it up for questions. So you'll see on the right-hand side, for those of you who are literally joining as I speak, the comments box. So if you do have any specific questions, then please do put them in there and I'll get to those as we work through this particular session. And as I said, we'll just give it a minute or so before we kick off with this particular session. So just give another 30 seconds or so just to let anyone else join. Normally these types of events have a number of people joining after the start, so it's not uncommon for us just to have a slight pause at the start. Okay, so let's make a start to the session. So a very good afternoon to everybody. My name is Professor Richard Thelwell, and I'm the Head of School of Sport, Health and Exercise Science at the University of Portsmouth. The purpose of this session is for me to be able to provide a brief overview of the kind of things that you can expect within the school, and also for you guys to have an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have with regards to your studies. So I'm making an assumption that the vast majority of you are looking at starting your studies next September, October time. And obviously between now and that particular point, there are some significant events that you have to consider. Obviously, the UCAS deadline is looming at the moment. It's remaining on the 15th of January. And there are loads of different things that you're going to have to consider in terms of where you might wish your degrees to take place. So it could be financial, it could be logistical, it could be geographical, it could be financial, there could be career issues that you wish to consider in terms of where you wish to study, and of course the courses as well. So just to give you a bit of an overview, we have three main undergraduate courses within the school. The first is the Sport and Exercise Science course, and normally we'd have around about 150 students on that per year who start at level 4 or year 1. Now, within that Sport and Exercise Science course, there will be a significant amount of psychology, physiology, biomechanics, human movement, strength conditioning, nutrition, rehabilitation and injury. And each year you'll have the opportunity to develop your expertise in some of those areas to the point where in the final year, it's pretty much all option for you. So you can really focus in on areas that you have a specific interest in. The second course is the Sports Business Management course, and we are in the process of just redeveloping some of the constituent parts of that. Now, the Sports Business Management course, obviously, as the name would suggest, is very different to that of the Sport and Exercise Science course. So elements of sports business, sports marketing, sports organisation, some of the political aspects associated with sport and sporting governance, they're the kind of things that we then end up looking at within that particular course, in addition to aspects of coaching, development. Normally, there'd be around 50 to 60 students on that course per year. And the third undergraduate course is the Sport and Exercise Psychology course, which is BPS accredited and is also part delivered with the Department of Psychology, who are also within the faculty that the School of Sport health and exercise science are in. Now, the first year of the psychology course is exactly the same as the sport and exercise science course. And the reason for that being that if you want to become a psychologist, you have to have an understanding of the other sport and exercise science disciplines. In the second year, the vast majority of that particular course is delivered by the Department of Psychology. And that's where you get what's called graduate basis for chartered membership. So if you might have seen GBC over BPS documentation. So things such as cognitive psychology, social psychology, psychobiological, development psychology, for example, will be covered within that particular year. In the third year, you're then back into the sport, exercise, health, clinical type aspects of psychology. Now, within our school, we currently have 8 members of staff who are psychology focused, a number of which are working with a range of professional bodies, organisations, etc. So you'll get the sport and exercise psychology focus from our school, and you'll get the mainstream psychology from the Department of Psychology. So they're the 3 undergraduate courses, and sorry, I should say there that we normally have around 40 to 45 students, limited places on that psychology course. So they're the undergraduate courses, and it's also worth just considering the size of the school. So we currently have 35 academic members of staff. We are all based within the Spinnaker building. So we have a home, which is pretty rare for a school, and I suppose even more the case given the fact that we're a city-based campus. Those 35 members of staff cover all of the disciplines, and we expect our staff to be engaging in research, promoting placement opportunities, ensuring that our curriculum is vocationally relevant to enable you to really develop yourselves for the professional workplace. Further to that, we have literally, although we haven't quite got in there yet because of what's happening with COVID, we've got a new facility which is just for sport, strength conditioning and rehabilitation. So that particular facility is virtually untouched, but it's got in excess of £100,000 worth of brand new equipment, from an isokinetic dynamometer all the way through bench platforms. It's a fantastic facility which is going to be just for our students. And that will be, as I said, for the strength conditioning, rehabilitation type aspects within our curriculum. So we're continually looking to improve what we have, to ensure that students have access to the best facilities possible. And you only have to look on the website to get a feel for the kind of facilities that we have, from whether it's environmental chambers where you're doing physiology or psychophysiology, human movement studies, where we can effectively recreate wherever you want in the world. So we can put you up a mountain, we can put you in 50-degree heat, we can put you in dry conditions, humid conditions, freezing cold conditions, to look at the way in which the body and our performance might respond. So of course that has a range of health, elite sports, recreational applications, and you guys will get your hands dirty and get involved within those particular facilities. Just before I move on to the questions, it's obviously absolutely critical for us to have a very keen eye on how our courses prepare students for employment. So all of our courses have a sandwich year option. So you can either go and study abroad, you can maybe take a year out on a placement activity. There are aspects within our curriculum which are associated to professional development. And on some of the courses, the sports business management course in particular, in the second year or level 5, you can do half of your year abroad. So we have a whole variety of international exchange opportunities through our partnerships to enable our students to have a wonderful range of opportunities to effectively get out there. But further to that, we partner with many professional bodies, and they all have input to the curriculum to ensure that what you're studying enables you to be as best prepared for when you go into the real world. So that gives you a very whistle-stop tour through the school. I'm sure that there are many other things that you would like to know about, but I'm just going to look at some of the key questions that are coming up at the moment. And the first one there, I suppose, is hot on everybody's lips in terms of, well, what's happening right now in terms of where are we with regards to COVID? So we're operating at the moment what's called a blended and connected offering of our curriculum. So all of our lectures are now pre-recorded into bite-sized chunks. And effectively, that is really benefiting the students. And the feedback that we've had from that has been absolutely fantastic, because rather than having timetabled events for lectures, students can watch when they want, how much they want, and as many times as they want. So we just need to make sure, and the expectations that we've agreed with students is that all material is ready a week in advance. So lectures are all online. In terms of smaller group sessions, such as seminars, practicals, workshops, laboratories, we have been able to do a number of those particular activities on campus. Now, given that COVID has obviously very concerning transmission rates, we've had to be very careful with regards to what laboratory sessions we can do. So at the moment, we haven't been able to engage in laboratory-based activities in physiology, biomechanics, etc., because of the potential dangers associated to that. But there has been a lot of face-to-face teaching, and we're probably averaging around 6 hours a week face-to-face on campus at the moment. And of course, there are a number of things that have influenced that, because some staff have had to isolate. We've had students who have had to isolate. And so because of the cases, we've had to be very flexible in terms of how we have been able to deliver our curriculum. That said, the staff have been very, very imaginative and innovative in terms of how they're trying to enable students to be at home, but link into a live session whilst they're also students within that session face to face. So it's a bit of everything that we're trying to manage at the moment. But the key part of that question, I suppose, is will we be in by September? Well, again, we are crystal ball gazing to a certain extent, but given the fact that we are just at the outset of the vaccine and we are now looking 9.5 months hence, I would really hope that come September 2021, things will return to a degree of normality. That said, we may see some changes that have come about because of what's happened so far. I mentioned about the lectures and the students who have really enjoyed and really benefited from having those pre-recorded. So that may well be something that we have ongoing. But that also provides further opportunities for us to have an increased number of face-to-face sessions, whether it's seminars, practicals, laboratories, workshops, etc. So I think we might actually see a number of things for the better. And obviously for those students this year who are missing out on some of the laboratory experiences, we're hoping that we'll be able to get caught up with some of those, maybe in the Easter period if we're allowed, or maybe their curriculum for next year will be more inclusive of some of those activities. But I really hope that the practical aspect of the courses, the laboratories, the practicals, etc., will be back to what we know as of next academic year. But I suppose we're at the mercy of how well the vaccine will operate there. The next question is in regards to the number of applicants that we normally get for the sport and exercise science course. Typically, we normally have around about 900 to 1,000 applications per year. And that's for the 150, 175 places. So it is competitive, but one of the things obviously that's important to bear in mind will be the requirements for actually getting onto the course. And again, maybe I'm preempting some questions later on here, but for the sport and exercise science and also the sport and exercise psychology courses, we're operating a range of between 128 to 136 points. So again, I can go into some of the specifics with regards to what the requirements are within those points, but it's a competitive process. But if students are wanting to come to Portsmouth, we would much rather have students who want to come to Portsmouth who might just narrowly kind of miss out or get the lower end of the range. So it is competitive. We do have a number of applications, but year on year, we do not struggle in terms of our recruitment. For those of you who might be interested in the sports management and development, or what it's going to be known as the sports business management course, that's got a range of 112 to 128 points. So slightly different. Now, that doesn't mean that it's an inferior course. It's just not as scientific in terms of what the requirements are within the course. The next question, excuse me, relates to how the courses are assessed. One of the things that we pride ourselves on, I suppose, within the school is the real variety of assessment strategies. And the things that influence our assessment strategies will not just be the subject area, it will be the input from employers, there will be influence from students, student feedback. We have external examiners like every single university has, who will comment on what our assessment suite actually looks like. And one of the things we are continually credited with are the assessment strategies that we have in place. Now, in terms of the specifics, they will range all the way from examinations, and the examinations might be multiple choice, there might be short answers with multiple choice, there might be essay-based exams, there might be what we call scene exams. So there are a whole variety of examinations. Then we have varieties of coursework. So it might be laboratory coursework, it might be the writing of abstracts. Nowadays, it might well be that you have to provide infographics or video-based infographics for certain employment environments. There will be presentations. Some of those might be individual presentations, some of them might be group presentations. And these, again, will be very much influenced by the discipline and also the course. So I'm afraid that wherever you go across the UK, you're probably not going to be able to have just one form of assessment, because what employers are continually looking for, as we fully know now through the work that we do with them through our various committees, is that they want students who can defend their work, students who can write work very well, but also write work in a scientific and also a non-scientific format. So again, there's a different type of assessment strategy there. But when you go out into the real world, you have an understanding of how to use information and present it, be it orally or in the written form. So again, assessments have significantly developed in recent years. And I suppose one other thing that's just worth bearing in mind is that when you get to the third year or level 6, the types of assessments are more real world focused or applied in their focus. For example, if you're doing something in physiology, you might be working with a particular client, you then have to administer some form of test and write a client report for them. Or in psychology, you might be given an assessment challenge, and it could be that you have to then respond to the data that is being generated and how you go about intervening with a particular client. So it's very much at level 4 about understanding the basics, getting the knowledge, the basic competence, and then integrating more of the research at level 5 into level 6, where it certainly becomes more applied in nature. In terms of the next question, so this is about elite sport and whether or not lectures get in the way of training. Well, I suppose the first thing to say is that we would always want to promote engagement within sport, physical activity, health, exercise related tasks that our students want to engage in. We've had numerous elite level sports people over the years, and all we've asked them to do is to ensure that they inform us to when they are likely to be away. So for some individuals, for example, in sailing, they might have overseas training regattas, or they might have major competitions throughout term time. Well, as long as we know that in advance, we can provide the appropriate support for you. Given what we're learning through COVID, then one almost also might hope that the support via online lectures will also enable that greater flexibility to be utilised as well. The university has a sports scholarship scheme, which is also run through sport and recreation. So it's not run by ourselves. And part of that particular process enables you to get scientific support. There might be physiotherapy support or rehabilitation support. But there's an extensive support package for individuals who receive a scholarship. And again, that's through the Sports and Recreation Department, who, incidentally, you might have seen if you've looked around the website, will be moving into a new sports facility in the next few months. So currently we have 2 internal halls, and we have gym facilities across a split site at the moment, but there's a new 50 million plus facility which is being built literally 200 meters from where our Spinnaker building is, and it will have an 8-lane pool, a 175 station gym, an 8-court hall, and so it's going to be fantastic. And you guys will probably be the first academic cohort that will really benefit from utilizing that new facility. Good question there about, can you go on a study abroad kind of exchange program? And the answer to that is yes. So all of our courses at undergraduate level have a sandwich year option. So at the start of level 5, which is the second year, you'll receive lots of information to ask you to consider whether you'd like to go on a sandwich year. Now, that sandwich year can be split into either an overseas study abroad, or it might be some kind of professional placement that you wish to engage in for a 1-year period. And then after you've done that, you then come back in to finish off your degree studies. There are significant developments on that front at the moment. So not only have we had, obviously this year is a little bit different, but in the coming years, we've got a multitude of exchange options with universities in North America, so Canada, US. We have exchange options in Australia and New Zealand, which are coming online. And students, as I've said, do have the opportunity to go and study abroad for a year. One of the most exciting things which is coming online, hopefully for next year, is what we call a dual award. And this is where students will have a 3rd year based at Edith Cowan University in Western Australia. And as I said, this is hopefully coming online for next year, but it might be the year after. But you effectively get a dual degree from Portsmouth and also Edith Cowan University. So you do your first 2 years here, you then go to Edith Cowan University for the 3rd year, and then you come back to Portsmouth for the 4th year. So there are a variety of sandwich or study abroad placement opportunities available. And some individuals have really, really benefited from that. And the feedback that we've had, from those students has been excellent, and they've really enjoyed the experience of going overseas. So I hope that that's helped in terms of that particular question. Right, good question, that one about the sports science course. Yeah, so the university is ranking really well, but we're not currently ranked in the QS survey. Well, we are ranked in the QS survey, but we're just not currently in the top 100. So in our subject area, we're currently ranked in the 150 to 200 bracket. And a lot of that is to do with internationalization. So as we speak right now, we are engaged in a very clear strategic move to ensure that we have visiting staff from overseas, that we have partnerships, as I've just been alluding to, with regards to where our students can go, with regards to how our research is perceived internationally. So a lot of the international league tables, such as the QS league tables, are research focused. They're not so much kind of teaching course focused. But as I said, our strategy at the moment is to ensure that in the next 5 years, so by 2025, we are continually seen as being one of the top 10 sport health exercise providers in the UK, but also seen as a top 100 provider within those particular league tables. So it's something that we are very aware of, because we perceive the international market as being a really beneficial place for us to extend our provision. And we have a number of international students who use those types of league tables as important indicators to whether or not they should come and study with us. So I hope that that's kind of answered your question a little bit there. But as I said, a lot of those international tables are more about research capability. And in the last few years, we've seen our staffing, or well, when I started as head of school in 2009, we had in the region of 18 members of staff. We're now up to 35. So we are growing in terms of our capability, in terms of our research outputs, in terms of our research quality, income generation from research, but also the kind of internationalization within our curriculum. So I hope that helps to respond to that particular question. Now, the next one there is about books that you can read for the sports psychology course. The best thing to do there is to contact the course lead, Dr. Daniel Brown, and Dan will be able to direct you to some of the key texts that we would utilize. If I can just take that a little bit further, given the fact that I'm a psychologist by trade as well, so I can maybe cheat a little bit on that one. The key texts that we would look for would be things such as the book by Cox. There's a book by Weinberg and Gould. There are other texts by Hardy, Jones and Gould. Lots of books that we might refer you to, but they're all quite costly. So the best thing I would say is, if Dan can give you one or two key references, that might help in terms of background information. But when you hopefully come next year, all of those materials will be available for you either in hard copy in the library or online. And our online provision, I suppose, is just as well. We had an excellent online provision because of what's now happened with COVID. But you'll be off the books pretty quickly and then into the journals. And our online journal availability is exceptional. And the vast majority of your references and the things that you'll be referring to will be research papers. So please don't be too concerned about textbooks that are very generic. We have more than enough of those, but Dan will be able to direct you more specifically. But as soon as you arrive, hopefully, then you'll be able to access that material via online provision as well. Further to that, I should say that we operate something called Moodle, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And that's our online learning platform, where all information for we call them modules. Everything is based there. So the lectures are uploaded, the reading lists are uploaded. So a lot of the time, students just literally click onto the reading list, they click the reading, and it takes them straight into the university library, where there it is at the click of a button. So yeah, I hope that's helped that particular question. Okay, the next one, batch size in the sports science course. So we normally would have about 150 to 175 new students on the sport and exercise science course per year. And every single student who comes into our school, irrespective of the course, will be assigned to a personal tutor straight away. So our personal tutors are the academic members of staff, and you will meet with a personal tutor on a weekly basis, especially at level 4 or first year. We also have surgery hours, which have worked brilliantly this year, where all staff are available without fail for an additional 2 hours per week for students just to go in and book online for a meeting. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you can't meet with the staff at other times, but you know that the staff will be guaranteed to be available at those particular times. So each tutor will have a tutor group of around 10 to 12 students. And the idea is that you then stay with that tutor throughout the duration of your studies. And I'll come back to one of the reasons why that's important in a second with regard to the second part of the question. So the other thing to bear in mind is if you have, well, I'll say if we have large lectures, there could be times where we have 175, maybe 250 people in those lectures if that particular lecture covers all of our courses. But who knows what lectures are going to look like going forward? They might be somewhat different. So the laboratories, the seminars, the practicals, the workshops, depending upon the subject, depending upon the demands of that session, there might well be between 10 to 25 students in that particular session at any one moment in time. So there'll be lots of repeats, but you'll have lots of opportunities to ensure that you get your hands on the kit, get the experiences, and have really good experiential learning. So, as I said, there's kind of like 150 to 175 total, but depending upon the types of sessions that might be run, the most you'll have in a smaller group class will be 25. The second part of your question is about the scope for postgraduate courses after completing undergraduate course. And we're very proud of the fact that we have a suite of MSc courses that will enable students to have a route from all of our undergraduate courses. So currently we have a course in sports performance, which is more of a generic type of master's course covering psychology, physiology, biomechanics. We have a course called Clinical Exercise Science, which is, as the name would suggest, very clinical based, but also speaks to a lot of the health related issues that we have within our subject area. So there's a lot of link with NHS, with hospital trusts, etc., through that particular course. We have an accredited course in sport and exercise psychology. So again, if you want to be a psychologist, you have to do an MSc in sport and exercise psychology to then get onto the professional training route. So we have a number of students who will go from our undergraduate psychology course onto the postgraduate psychology course, or a number of them do the sport and exercise science course and then progress on to the sport and exercise psychology course. And so normally we'd have around about 25 students per year on that master's course, which is very healthy. The fourth course we have is sports management. And again, that is something that has grown in recent years. And that, I suppose, is a significant advancement on what our students at undergraduate level do. We then have a fifth course called Human and Applied Physiology, which again speaks to our strengths in environmental physiology and also clinical physiology. And the one that started this year is Strength, Conditioning and Rehabilitation. So that again has been incredibly popular, and all of our courses are mapped wherever possible to professional qualifications and professional training requirements. The sixth one, which we are literally working through at the moment, is a pre-registration course in physiotherapy. And a lot of our students on completion of their undergraduate go off and want to cover physiotherapy elsewhere. So because one of our thematic areas of strength is physical activity, exercise and rehabilitation, we are now looking at putting together a physiotherapy course, which we are hoping will start in September 2021, but more realistically, January 2022. So that will give students an opportunity to, again, stay with us. The key thing I will say is if you do want to go into courses such as strength conditioning or physiotherapy, maybe even teacher training after your undergraduates, and I know we're talking 3-4 years down the line here, the best advice I can give you is to get as much relevant experience throughout your degree studies. So hopefully that answers the question there about what postgrad opportunities there are. And I'm very proud of the fact that we have in excess of 100 master's students across our courses. So we have a really, really strong community of master's students within our school. I'm just going to jump a question here because it said the question is, what can Portsmouth offer that's different to other universities? And what can you learn at Portsmouth as opposed to another university? So first, I think that there's the option there of throughput to master's courses, irrespective of the undergraduate course. Second, there is a continual link with local employers, regional employers, national employers, global employers in terms of opportunities that you have. Third to that is the variety of courses that we offer at undergrad, which means that to be able to do that, we have to have a real breadth of experience and expertise within our staff. But the key thing that I think will separate, or the key two things, one is our core values that we have as a school to ensure that everything that we do is driven by core values of a collegiate environment, feeling engaged, by promoting equality and having a sense of belonging. So our school is effectively a very familial type of approach. We want everyone to actually feel part of a group. And the way that staff liaise and work with our students, I think, is absolutely critical for the ongoing successes. The other thing that I think is really important is we are very clear about what our strengths are. So we have three key thematic strengths. So everything that we do fits into one of the three. The first is about extreme environments. So everything that we do in life revolves around an environment. Now, some of those are very extreme. Some of them might not seem very extreme, but they challenge us physiologically, psychologically, from a movement perspective, from a policy perspective. So everything that we teach and research will all fit into that particular area. The second one revolves around what we call individual, occupational, and organizational performance. So we have sports performers operating at an individual level. We work with them, we research them, we study them. We work at organizational levels. So we now see a huge amount of our curriculum looking at things such as culture, organizational psychology. You've only got to look at a number of sporting organizations at the moment where there are clear cultural issues in terms of how they go about their business. So that's a really strong area for where we work. And we've got a huge piece of work we're doing with UK sport at the moment, looking at those types of things as well. The third area is about physical activity, health and rehabilitation. So that, as I said, that's where the strength conditioning and rehabilitation course comes in. That's where the new areas of our curriculum come in, the physiotherapy as well. So what I can say is that everything that we do aligns to our strengths. And when we're appointing new staff, we're looking at staff with those particular strengths. There are other areas that we are not as strong in, but we don't pretend to be strong in those particular areas. So when you look around universities, it's very important that you think, well, what do I want? Where do I want to go? What do I want expertise to be in? And, you know, I can sit here quite happily and say, well, we have an incredible research output from our staff. We have really impressive links with Ministry of Defence, with professional bodies, professional organisations, the NHS, trusts, etc. Because of the expertise that we have, we write expert statements which then influence policy for various sporting organisations, and they're the kind of things that are really important for you to bear in mind. So I hope that kind of helps a little bit. But there's the other stuff that you mustn't forget. What else are we doing for promoting your career? So, for example, we have a career development prize, which is available to every single student in our school. The top prize is £500, and all you have to do is write 500 words to say why we should give you £500 to go towards your career development. So it's an open competition. It's developing those skills. And ultimately, you might be a recipient of up to £500 to help you. We then look at equality and diversity, engagement in the local community type awards. So we're promoting those types of skills on a very regular basis. We engage with our alumni, so our ex-students who come back and be mentors and provide a whole variety of workshops we do a careers conference each year, which our mentors are effectively the key drivers for. So you're involved in a global network of people right from the outset. And one of the things that you'll be receiving very soon as someone who is logged into one of our recruitment events, you'll be receiving something called Pulse, which is our newsletter that we publish twice a year. It's only 4 pages long, but it gives you an insight to the weird, wonderful, crazy things that are going on across the staff, the students, and also our ex-students. So that goes out to all of our alumni. It goes out to all of our external partners. It goes out to all of our current students. So the network is really big, and we're connecting you with those people straight away. And of course, in addition to that, you've then got your overseas studies, etc., that you may wish to engage in as well. Next question there was about the third year project. Yes. So wherever you go across the UK, it's highly likely that you'll end up doing a level 6 final year project. And one of the key things that we try to ensure is that your work is cutting edge. And as I've already mentioned, the projects that you'll be doing will be within one of our thematic areas. They will be aligned to our staff expertise. And ideally, you'll be doing a piece of work that could well be publishable. So we've had many examples in the past of students who, with a bit of support after they've finished their work, have been able to submit their projects for publication. And then, of course, the students of the future start to refer to those particular projects. But also, we want to ensure that students have an opportunity to go off to conferences. And there's a major organisation called BASES, British Association of Sport and Exercise Science, and we support financially and academically a large number of students to go to that particular conference each year. And that, again, is a good opportunity for you to present your dissertations. So that, again, there's some of the added benefits in terms of what we do within our school, but also to hopefully motivate you to do an excellent piece of work for your dissertation. And again, many students then carry that on into their postgraduate studies as well. Right, I'm just going down the list. Okay, so there's a question there about master's programs. And again, if you go to our web pages, on the course web pages, you'll be able to see very clear information with regards to what our programs are at master's level, and also what the entry requirements are, and who each of the course leads are. The applications for master's courses, they're effectively open all year round, but there's increased competition now with regards to the number of places that are available. So for that particular individual who said about wanting to go onto a master's program, as I said, my best advice is to look onto the course pages, and you can then be connected with the relevant course leader. Any other questions? Any other things that people would like to know? I think I've worked through the vast majority there. I suppose it's also worth saying about some of the other facilities that we have. I've mentioned about the new strength conditioning rehabilitation suite that we have. I've mentioned about the environmental facility, but we also have a number of other teaching laboratories for physiology, for motor skill, skill acquisition type studies. So whether it's eye tracking, whether it's EMG type activities, whether it's visual search, all of those types of equipment are available, and obviously you guys will be heavily involved. If you're looking at the sport business management course, then there are good opportunities there as well to be engaged with local organisations. So we're heavily involved with the Portsmouth Schools Partnerships. So pretty early on within your studies, you'll be out and about looking at event organisations, mega events, global events in terms of how they might be run. And that's, of course, all the way right down to maybe engaging in the local community and coaching. One further thing, there might be a number of you who want to engage in coaching awards, and the university runs something called Up for Sport, and this is where you can complete pretty much as many qualifications as you wish, free of charge. The payment is going and working in the local community and doing some hours coaching. So a double winner on your CV there in terms of having the qualification and also having some voluntary experience. The question there, the admissions decision. Okay, so all of the admissions that you make that go through UCAS then contact the university or the universities, because obviously a number of you will be putting multiple institutions down. The university then gets in touch with you pretty much straight away. Our record is good, and you should be receiving an offer from us within a 7 to 10 day window. And the next stage of the cycle for undergraduate students is in the kind of springtime or later springtime. You then have to whittle your choice of 5 institutions down to a first choice and then an insurance choice. So that's where the real tough decisions have to be made, because you've got to be very clear on where you might like to go, what you want to study, and that's where you've got to make sure you've done as much homework as you possibly can prior to making that final decision. So hopefully that will answer that particular question about the admission decisions. And ultimately, if you are predicted the grades that you are that enable you to get onto our courses, you'll get a favourable response. Any further questions in terms of what else is on offer or information on courses? We've covered some stuff on assessment types. We've looked at how the courses are normally delivered. Other things that students often like to know about would be kind of contact hours per week. Again, it's a bit different this year because of obviously COVID, but normally in the first year, students would have 12 to 16 hours per week contact. Second year, it might be around the 10 to 12, and same again within the third year. But again, that's just the face-to-face type contact. And that's pretty consistent across the sector. But that's not to say that you can't do more. And that doesn't include tutorial sessions. And I say that's a very rough average on a week-by-week basis, because depending upon the course that you're wishing to study, sometimes you might have a few more hours per week, sometimes it might be a little bit less, because some laboratory sessions, for example, might be 3 hours, sometimes it might only be 1 hour. So there's a bit of flex there with regards to what your week-by-week schedule might look like. And that very much is influenced by the course and possibly the module that you're studying as well. Any further questions? Trying to think what else people might like to know about. Covered lots of information there. I'm also assuming that many of you might not be aware of Portsmouth in terms of a city. Where we are based, we are literally in what's called, I suppose, the northern quarter, and we're right down the line from Gunwharf Quays, which is a lovely area. So we're about a 5-minute walk from there. We're directly opposite the Student Union. We're 150 metres from the main library. You would have no more than 3, possibly 4 minutes to walk to any of the buildings that you would need to use for your studies as well. A couple more questions have just come in there. So Placement year in sports science courses, yes, there's for all of our courses, we have placement years, and that can either be a work placement year or it can be a study abroad year. So I mentioned a little bit earlier on that we've had many students in recent years who have gone across to North America for exchange years. So that's their third year, then they come back for their final year with us in Portsmouth. A number of students have really benefited from that. We're currently in negotiation with a number of other institutions globally, and we've probably got around about 25 institutions who we either have existing relationships with or we're literally at the final stages. And this is a movable feast, so we're continually looking at having new partners involved. And the institutions that we are looking to partner with, we want to ensure that they share the same values as we do, so that when our students go there, hopefully as far as possible, kind of a home from home in terms of what their experience is like. But students have really benefited from that internationalization of the study experience, but also for those who have done a placement year, which can be locally, it can be regionally, it can be nationally, it can be internationally. A number of those students have really benefited too. The next question there is about a foundation year. We run a generic foundation course in science within our Faculty of Science and Health. So we don't do a foundation year in sport and exercise science, but we do have a number of students who come through from the generic course into our school. So that option is there, but as I said, it's a generic science course. So hopefully that's responded to the vast majority of questions. But please do throw further questions forward if you do have any. Okay, I'll give it another 30 seconds or so, or we'll look to wrap up. But as I said beforehand, when you make your choice, try to make sure you've done as much homework as you possibly can, and that's including everything that you were wanting to try and achieve from your degree studies, all the way from the course to the sporting opportunities, of which we have goodness knows however many through the athletic union, but also to the other things. What other opportunities are there going to be for you to benefit from throughout your studies? Are you going to feel connected? Are you going to feel safe? Are you going to feel engaged within that particular school? Are you going to enjoy your particular studies? So I'm glad it's been of benefit to a number of people. So thank you for your comments. Thanks also for your questions. These sessions are somewhat difficult if the questions aren't being posed. So it's nice to be able to respond to a number of those particular questions that have come up. But this isn't the only mechanism for you to find information out. The web page is full of information, and also you can always get in touch with myself or my team if you ever would like to have some further information. So if there are no further questions, I think we'll look to call that a day, and I wish you a very happy and healthy festive period. So thank you for joining this afternoon, and I hopefully will see you soon as a student within our school. Okay, bye-bye.